You're not listening. I don't care about the $600. The total bill, the $10,000 bill. Where is that? Said, well, I think it's going to be $10,100. You're like, sure, okay. If you're a contractor, I'm not a contractor. We will go on the record in the matter 24 CV 156, Teresa Grittner versus Don Rayner. Both parties appear in person without counsel. We're set today in this matter for the court trial in this case. Ms. Rittner, you originally filed a small claims complaint, and then Mr. Rayner filed counterclaims, which then made it so the matter was over $10,000 and needed to be filed in a civil matter. But then Mr. Rayner dismissed his counterclaims. And so the matter is now, it's still in the civil case, but the matter has been now reduced to your claims only. I do have your complaint in front of me. I'm going to have both parties please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. You may be seated. So, Ms. Rayner, or Ms. Grittner, you have the burden of proof to prove
I
your
have 3
claim.
copies, one for you and one for him and one for me.
And so I'm going to guess those are exhibits that you would like to use.
Yes,
And so what you would need to do is you can pre-mark them, have them marked. You can't give them to the court. You can give them to Mr. Rayner right now if you wish. But then when you're testifying, you're providing your arguments and statements to the court, then you would go off of those documents and then you would ask the court to look at them. So come up here and have them marked.
Hang on. Or not.
All right, well, I guess just mark them and give them to me and she can testify off of them and direct me to them.
Okay, she's got multiple things here though, and she didn't tell me how she wants it busted up. And
You
she
need
can't
to
hear
come
me.
up here and you need to tell the clerk how you want them marked.
Well, these are all different documents.
yeah, this is what I put out, what I paid him.
Oh, you don't need to explain
No.
what they are to
Okay.
her. You need to say,
Separate these into how you want them divided, and I'll mark them.
how you're going to testify to them. If you're going to testify about one document, that's one exhibit. You're going to
Yeah,
testify
there's
about a
3 different-
bunch.
There's 3 different ones.
Okay, so separate those.
This would be the number 1, the counter.
Okay.
And then the second one is island. And then the third one is.
Yeah, you don't have to get this on the record.
3 different ones.
That's fine, but give me all of number 2.
It usually wouldn't be that loud, but she can't hear.
This is number 1.
Yep, I've got that marked. I need the next one. Give me
This is
page
number
1.
2. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
And then this one is number 2. And then these are all the texts.
All right, so this is 2.
Yeah.
And then these are 3.
Yes,
Okay,
them are all the texts.
okay.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Grittner, you may begin your testimony.
Okay, he started coming and doing work on my house in October of 23. And he was doing good. And then he put this counter on there. And I asked him why he did that. And he said he couldn't find one long enough. He didn't have a saw long enough to cut this. And I said, well, I'm not happy with this. I said, you need to replace it and try to do something with it. And he said it would cost me another $1,000 for him to replace it, which he didn't. He never did that part and never came back and did it because of other situation. So then I had somebody after he quit coming and he came and redid the counter for me. And it cost me $2,000. And I have a bill in there. And also the first picture is where the seam is at. The second one is not the seam at all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What was that?
I don't know what you're talking about, pictures, scenes.
There's two pictures, you should have them. One's like this one here, and it has a seam in it. It should be
Where, in which document?
the first document
Okay. All right, so the first picture is the.
is
cement.
with the seam in it, and the second one is without the seam. I had to have somebody, after he quit coming to me, to come back and redo it for me.
Okay,
And then the second one was the island. So in May, he came back and did some work. Then he didn't come back until June 2nd. He said he didn't have enough money to finish the island. So I borrowed him $300 to come back and finish the island, which he never did. And that was the last day I seen of him to come to my house. So I had a guy come back and finish the island on that. His name was Bill. And that cost me $500 for that to get finished. And then the ceiling, because he took down the island, the ceiling on the top was different. And I finally had to get, because he didn't come back, and I paid him all this money ahead of time in cash. And so I had to have somebody come back and finish it. And two people came back and they said that they couldn't finish it. So I ended up costing me a lot more money, and they had to take all the bubbles off and just leave it because they couldn't fix it. So it cost me more money there again. So
where is that? Where do you have proof of that?
on this picture here, there's a square piece here. It's kind of like in the front room and dining room. Okay, what he used was not the right product or whatever. And then the bill for the guy was to just, I had the rest of the house done. So the top part just for the front room alone and the kitchen was $1,650 for that.
So we're talking about exhibit 3? Yes, exhibit 3. And so how much did it cost you to have another contractor come in and fix the ceiling?
It was $1,650 the first line. That's all you have to worry about. Because that was between the front room and kitchen. I had to do them both. I couldn't just do the kitchen because it was in the, you know.
Okay.
And I text him several times. I also know that when he was doing my place, that he had a bad hip, and that he said he was going to have hip surgery in June of the following year. And he promised me to have this all done before his surgery. Well, he didn't. And that's why I did what I did, because he promised me. I paid him everything in cash. I paid him $1,000 in cash for him to replace that. Then he was supposed to repaint my house again. I paid him another $800. Oh, sorry.
Give me dates.
Dates.
When did this start? When did you first?
In October of 23. And
Okay.
then the last day that he was at my house was June 2nd was the last day that he came to my house of 24.
And when, and I can see on the receipts, when you had other individuals come, October 2024.
The
and
23rd of October. They started in October and 23, and until of June of 24. The second was the last day he went there.
When was the ceiling work done?
This is after he quit coming there, so then I had people come in after and fix my kitchen and the ceiling and my cupboard, so I can.
When? Date?
I think the date on, he came and did the kitchen, I think it's on the paper there.
It's not. I see when you paid.
10/26 of 24 for the ceiling, for the counter.
Yeah, but the ceiling is what I'm asking.
Oh, the ceiling is on that last paper. I'm so sorry, ma'am. Well, he doesn't have a date on there, does he? It was around the same time as these guys, so I'm thinking October or November.
And he allowed you to pay after he did his work?
After okay,
Boss Construction, the guy who fixed your ceiling,
right.
allowed you to pay after he did his work.
I pay half or what?
He did the work on the ceiling and then you paid him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Okay. October work. All right. Now, when did you have conversations with Mr. Rayner about him not completing the work?
In my texts I show you, I text him until I kept on texting him, and then June 2nd, I know I text him again. That's when he came to my house, and then after that, I kept on texting him until I don't know how long, but in my texts it shows you. I don't know, but I know that he had surgery done on the 25th of June, I think it was supposed to be done. And I told him congratulations on that. And I texted him to August, I think was the last time. I'm not really sure.
And I'm not going to read all of these, and these are probably not how the exhibit should have been. But I'm not going to read all of these texts. You have to direct me to which ones are important. Which ones where he says, I'm going to do it by this time, or I'm not going to do it.
Oh, I didn't look at that. I'm so sorry.
Because there's like 50 pages of text.
I'm not sure. I know that it would have to be back in June when I asked him when he was going to come back and finish my.
So I'm seeing the last text messages you had or exchanges was on July 15th, but I'm
Right.
seeing it looks like just you texted to him and he did not respond.
Right.
So with what you've told me, I am only seeing $4,150.
What was that, ma'am?
I'm only seeing $4,150. You paid other people to do work that he was supposed to.
Okay, so on that front piece of paper there, it shows that I paid him $1,000 cash and then $800. And to finish the island, I borrowed him $800 for that. And then there was a contractor, he told me that he paid money for, which I know that he did not take the paper to a contractor. So that's $600, so that's $27. And then I go down to what it cost me, because this job should have been all done with the money that I paid him. This is the money I put out of my own pocket to get my house back into order. So it was $1,500 for the ceiling, then it was $2,000 for the counter, and then $500 for the island. So that's $4,000 there. So the 127, I think it came out to be $6,700.
I thought you testified before that the ceiling was $1,650.
Well, I put 15, I'm sorry about that, but I'll just do the 15, it's fine by me.
You don't have to, I'm just trying to correct
Yeah.
sure I have the correct
I did.
facts.
Well, my friend helped me put this up and I didn't realize that, I'm sorry. And I found out through the contractor said that I should have never paid him that $1,000 to replace that.
You can't tell me what a contractor said. That's hearsay,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
All right. So, Mr. Rayner, I have the documents. I'm receiving all 3 documents, exhibits. You've heard her testimony, and with regards to your non-completion of the construction project, and her need to retain other contractors to finish. And you've heard how much she's requesting, $6,850. All right. What is your response?
Um,
Do you disagree that you owe her this money?
yes, the last thing I had to do was paint her island and paint the ceiling. And that's all I needed was paint, not an entire redo. That was per our phone conversation on 5/23, I think.
So are you contesting that, the counter? Let's start there with that line, the seam.
Yep, so she wanted it done for Thanksgiving, I think. So it had to get done, and a longer countertop that would not have to have a seam would have took 4 weeks to ship to Menards. And I got the 12-foot and then added the piece, and for a few days, maybe a week, it was all fine until she changed her mind on it.
Well, you see it, it looks sucky, it's crappy, it's not done very well at all.
A lot of countertops have
They're very legal
seams.
words, ucky and crappy. All right, what?
A lot of countertops have
Oh, no, they
seams in
don't.
them.
No, they don't, not like this. If you're a contractor, I'm not a contractor. There is absolutely no way that a professional contractor who cares about their workmanship would put a seam where this seam is. Absolutely none.
That was due to the time constraints.
As a contractor, did you ask her and say, hey, do you know you'll have to have a seam right here and it's not gonna look really great?
Yes, that
You had
was
that
established
conversation.
and it was fine for a few days, a week.
Where's the text? Do you have it in text?
I think that was in face conversation.
All right, so you're saying you had a conversation and you're saying she said, that's okay, I'll live with it.
It was fine for a few days, a week maybe.
Did she see it when you, with the length of the counter that you had, where the seam would need to go and cut like right in between a drawer?
That was purposely put there to access the dog clips to install it.
But you see the picture, right?
I've seen the picture, yes.
Would you want that countertop in your house?
My countertops have seams in them and they're shorter.
Again, I'm not asking about your countertops or where your seams are. Looking at this picture where this seam is with this countertop, would you want this in your home?
Yes,
Oh, then I think you're lying. I don't find you credible at all. Because this is obnoxious. Because I'm gonna guess this isn't marble. I'm gonna guess this isn't granite. This looks like it is,
No, it's not granite.
yeah,
it's for mica.
it's Formica. That's exactly. Excuse me, it's a cheaper countertop instead of
Right.
granite.
Right.
However, it's made to look like granite and have the grains that go in it. And the positioning of this seam with the lines, because it's white granite lookish or looking, with the really dark black veins, where the seam is, you can tell this just doesn't line up. And then to have the line, the seam be right through the middle of the cupboard door and the drawer. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, here's the thing. I'll give you a tip. Grew up with a very awesome man, my father, who knows how to do everything. My brother's in contracting. I've been around contractors. If you're gonna do a seam like this in a countertop, you do the seam where the dishwasher ends, that split between the dishwasher and the cabinets. You don't do a seam halfway in between. If you would have put the seam after the dishwasher, I probably could have been more like, yeah, I can see that. You probably talked to her. You probably told her those things. But with the seam where it is, that's just not where a contractor would put a seam because it looks ridiculous. It would have blended more after the dishwasher. All right, so what about the ceiling? You said you had to just repaint the ceiling?
Yes, there was a wall there. I took the wall down. I sprayed popcorn texture on it and it needed to be painted.
Well, I don't really have a great photograph. Not really the best photograph, but I can see popcorn sprayed on there. I'm gonna tell you, spraying popcorn, that's not that easy to do. I've done it myself. Not easy. You can do it. I'm OCD, so I worked on it and worked on it, worked on it until it was almost pretty much perfect. But it's very difficult to do, and I can't see, I see the different layers here, but then I see where it looks like there's not any. And we have a contractor, a different contractor who came in, who, if you look at his bill in Exhibit 3, the second page, $1,600, and it was to then remove and then have to paint that popcorn ceiling. And then on top of that, to fix that, she paid him to do 3 other rooms. She paid $1,500 additional dollars to do other rooms. So she paid more money to try and make it look the same instead of having him try to redo and refix that spot. So what about that?
All I needed was paint, and it was popcorn was installed 2 different times to get it to blend. I think that was a personal decision on her part to take all the popcorn out of the entire upper level of the home and do a flat ceiling.
And you agree though, wouldn't you, that if she had Boss Construction Solutions here coming on in to redo this work or to come in to complete the work because you were not coming to complete it, that it would have been cheaper for her to say, fix that spot of popcorn and paint it if that was all that needed to occur, right?
Well, I think she wanted a flat ceiling after that.
Did she tell you that she wanted flat ceilings, or how did this popcorn ceiling come about?
She didn't tell me she wanted flat ceilings, no.
Did she ask you to redo the popcorn part of the ceiling?
No, she asked me to paint it and I was going to, and then broke my hip and was unavailable.
What about this island where she loaned you money to buy supplies to finish the island?
A little confused about that because the supplies were there and it just needed to be painted and maybe a piece of trim underneath the nosing.
Well, I'm confused about the loaning of the money too, because unless you already paid for it and you needed additional supplies,
You mean for the ceiling,
the
Oh,
island.
the island? So he came on the 2nd of June. There had to be some things finished. And when he came, it cost me $300 more to finish it. He said he had no money. So I gave him $300 to finish the island. He never came back after that. So there was the shelves and there was baskets and the trim that have to be done and a few other things. Bill put it on here what he didn't finish. So it cost me $500 besides the $300 I gave him to finish my island.
So, but the $300 was for the other supplies,
For him to come back and finish it, and he never came back.
not for the supplies that were needed.
No, he said he needed $300 to finish the island. And I said, okay, I will borrow you the $300. Will you come back and finish it? He said yes, and he never did.
I don't get borrowing. Why are you borrowing money?
Because he had no money, I wanted him to finish my island.
That's not borrowing, that's paying. I'm paying you for a service. Why
But
did
I
you say
already,
borrow?
but the whole thing is, I already paid him the money for the island on the top $4,200 to do the island. But for him to buy parts and everything to finish the island, he had no money to go buy the parts or anything. So I borrowed him the $300 for parts so that he can come back and finish the island. And he never did.
So he did not bring parts back either?
No, he didn't do, I haven't seen him since the second, when he told me he needed the money to buy the parts. That was the last day I seen him. He told me he was going to try to have this all done before he had his surgery done.
So why did the contractor, William Andrew, need to install a bigger shelf in the island? Was that pre-planned?
Because that was the stuff he was supposed to do.
And install
And
the
he
dual
only,
trash slide out in the island? That was what he was supposed to do as well.
right.
So Mr. Andrew had all of the materials, he just needed to do the labor.
He did the labor, that's including labor and parts.
Well, it just says miscellaneous labor. There's no parts.
Well, it was $300 for him to buy the parts and to do it,
Ooh,
Bill. For,
he only charged $500 only for labor. There's no parts.
well, it was for parts and labors. It wasn't just the labor, it was for parts and labor. I guess he didn't put that in there, I'm sorry about that, but it was parts and labor.
He would have to put that in there. Contractors have to put this part and it's this labor and this. This only says labor. So I'm having a difficult time understanding that there was a need for additional parts of $300 that Mr. Rayner needed to borrow to go buy.
He was just supposed to buy parts to finish the island, Mr. Rayner, but he never brought the parts back.
Did he tell you what parts?
Well, I wanted 2 baskets and it was only 1 in there. And then he also did something with the shelves, and then on the bottom, he never put the base molding on it. It was there, so he had to put that in there because he didn't finish that either. And then he had to finish the shelves that were there. But
I'm trying to figure out $300 in parts. One other basket is not $300.
I am not understanding you.
I'm just trying to understand this loan. You
Okay.
said you loaned him $300.
I owed, because he had no money.
Get
He
that.
said, okay, so I gave him $300 and I said, this is a loan, you have to pay me this back for go buy the parts so you can finish the island. And he never did. So,
I'm still not understanding how a basket is $300 because the
He-
parts, I'm not hearing that there's $300 in parts. Plus, if something happens and you're doing construction and then they say, oh, well, you're like, I want 2 baskets instead of 1, that means that's an additional charge on you, not on the contractor.
no, I gave him $300 to him to come back and finish doing my island. I don't know what parts he had to buy, but he was supposed to come back and finish it, and he did. So my friend Bill, because he only bought 1 basket, I wanted 2 baskets, and Menards was not nice enough for me to break the 1 basket in. I got a double basket, cost me more for that. And then Bill finished for the labor, he putting the basket in and then doing some shelf and doing the trim was $500.
All right, still not understanding completely, but Mr. Rayner, she gave you $300 at some period of time for the island. She says it so you could go buy supplies to finish the island. I don't quite understand if it was that or for additional services. What was that $300 for?
I'm unaware of $300 being loaned to me for any purpose, especially parts. The parts to the island were there. The baseboard that she talked about, that was the piece of trim I had to install, paint it, and then paint the ceiling. She owed me $420 on our phone conversation at 5/23. We agreed that she should just take that money and put it towards the individual coming in and finishing those 3 items.
All right. Do you have any proof that you gave him $300?
Everything I gave Mr. Reiner was cash. No, I don't.
And so you didn't do a receipt, you didn't do anything?
No, I trusted him.
Either way, it costs you an additional 500 to finish the island.
That's right, ma'am.
Mr. Rayner, what is this $600 to consult with a contractor about blueprints?
There's no consulting for any blueprints.
I have a quick question. Where's his quote?
Okay.
Where's his quote? Where's his bill? Where's Mr. Rayner's anything?
That's what he billed me, $600.
I get
Okay.
it, I get it. Where is his bill that he gave you to say?
He
this
never
is-
gave me any bills or anything.
Like, this is what the total's gonna be. He just said, well, I think it's gonna be $10,100. You're like,
That-
sure,
That's
okay.
all, that's what he told me. He said that he took my papers, all my papers to a contractor because I told him the wall was not a permanent wall. So he said he took it to a contractor and it cost him $600 to pay the contractor.
I get what you're trying to say with that. When a contractor comes into your home and says, I'm going to renovate for you, I'm going to do some projects for you,
Right,
and it's gonna cost over $10,000, even if it's gonna cost $500, you see what happens here. You see that you get a bill from Boss and you get a bill from Mr. Andrew. Where's
Right.
the bill from him?
he didn't give me a bill. He told me that's what he paid a contractor, so I paid him
You're
$600.
not listening. I don't care about the $600, the total bill, the $10,000 bill. Where is that?
I gave him all cash. He told me it would cost me an extra $1,000 for him to change.
Do you see a receipt? This is from
No.
Mr. Andrew. Do you see this?
Yeah,
Where's the one from Mr. Rayner?
he never gave me any bills of any kind.
Why? Why didn't you require one?
He gave me nothing. He never gave me one bill for anything, ma'am. Everything was done from his word to my word, and I paid him cash with everything.
And you didn't ask for a quote, a written estimate of what it's going to cost?
No.
You just believed him.
On my emails, he tells me what it was gonna cost for each one of these projects that he did.
Okay, show me.
On the first part of the emails,
They're text messages.
right,
Where?
in the first part of October. I was looking at them. But that's what he told me it would cost me to do.
He says in a text message, I don't know what page because none of them are marked, but it says, it goes, as far as the wall demo, I'm going to have to look into that some more before giving a
Okay,
quote. So
on the-
where's the quote?
On this page, the second page, at the top, he was saying it would cost 40,000. It's on the second page, and it's this one here and this one here. And then to do the sink, it was gonna be $300 and so far. That's what the cost, that's how he was doing it to me. There was no paperwork, it was,
I hope you've learned a lesson that with the other contractors that you've worked with, you get quotes, you get receipts, you get paper, not a text message. And it gives you an idea of it's going to be this much in parts, this much in labor. This is exactly what we're gonna do, instead of the text message number 2 that says, setting the countertops with all the custom cabinet work is $4,200. Or the tile backsplash with the wall tile is $2,000. It should say $800 for the tile backsplash and then $1,200 for labor. It's not very detailed and it's not written. Not a good way to do business. Is there a text message that says the $600?
no, it was just word from him to me.
And I have a question for you. If you don't have a quote or an estimate or anything of that nature, How do you remember $800 for repainting, $300 for the sink, $600 for
I
contractor?
wrote it down on a piece of paper
Where's
for
that paper?
myself. Oh, at home, I didn't bring it. That's why I brought this. I wrote it on a piece of paper at home. Just,
When did you write it on that paper?
I don't know, when I remember how to do things, you know, what he did and what it cost. I know that he redid my painting, my kitchen, my whole front room. That was $1,100. I paid him cash. And then he did a closet. That was $450. He painted it and put new shelves in, and I paid cash for that. And that's not on here because that was just a hearsay from both of us. But the paint job that that it cost $1,100, it wasn't done right. So he was supposed to repaint it before he left. That's where the $800 comes in to saying, because I paid him the $800 already for him to come back and repaint it, and he didn't. So that's where that $800, and for the contractor thing, is I asked him, do you have proof from somebody that you paid this to somebody? And he said, no, he didn't. And that's why I put down $600, because that's what he quoted. He said he paid out, which I don't think he even took the paper to somebody.
I don't know how many times you've had people come in and do work
I
in your
know,
home.
I know.
But I'm gonna tell you, if he messed up the painting in your kitchen, and if it has had a shadow or some other incorrect painting on a wall and it needs to be corrected, you don't need to pay him more money. He needs to fix that on his dime.
I
He's
know.
the contractor who
I
did it
found,
wrong.
I know. I know.
And so just, I hope you've learned a lesson of how not to do business in the future. Get a written quote. You go off of the quote. Not that that's the end all be all, because some things
Yep.
can come off and others can be added, but that's what you should legally do.
Yep.
Because otherwise it's very hard to prove all of this money that you say you've paid and that he's saying, nope, I didn't get it.
I also gave him, when he was having a hard time to come to my house, I gave him cash of $50 for him to come back to my house, so that he could come back to my house and finish it, because he didn't have the money. And I never, mentioned that. And then when he was having a hard time, when he couldn't have food, I would give him all my nice things so that he could go eat. So, I mean,
Miss Brittner, you sound like a lovely lady. You sound like you are very trusting when you probably
Right.
should not be.
great.
I
I know.
really do hope that this is a lesson. Hopefully you don't need to renovate anymore or do any other changes, but sometimes some contractors are not all upfront and open. And that's really a shame, because it gives other contractors a bad name. Mr. Rayner, why did you not go back and finish all of the work?
Because of our phone conversation that she was gonna put the $420 that she owed me to paint the island, the ceiling, and put that trim on.
But that's not nearly enough to finish, as you can see. Other things that needed to be completed, with other contractors that come in and give her a quote and then a receipt.
Yep. The ceiling needed to be painted, not scraped and skim coated. So that I have a hard time believing it wasn't appropriate for enough for paint when it was when I left. And the coat of paint on the island and the piece of trim, that was the last two things I had to do. And
I
she
believe she
wanted
gave
the
you
garbage
$300 more.
cans.
I believe she gave you $300 more on top of that. What was that for?
I didn't receive $300 for additional anything of the island.
Did she give you $50 to have food? Did she give you Menards money, rebate money to go get food?
She gave me Menards rebates.
More than $5?
neighborhood of $60, $70.
$60 or $70. See, I'm having a very hard time believing you, Mr. Rayner. Because I believe that she gave you $50 here or there. I believe that $50, $60, $70 in Menards rebates that she wasn't asking to have paid back because she wanted to make sure that you ate and you were healthy and you were not hungry. I believe her when she says that. And it's hard to believe that your last communications ended in July of 2024, when she attempted to have you do work. You didn't respond to any after that, and then she didn't want to live in chaos and a mess, so she needed to have another contractor come and do the work. And so that wasn't completed until mid or later October. October 26th, so late October. So she waited from June 2nd until October 20th, 26th. Before she had somebody else come in and do the work. Why didn't you go and do the work before then?
Because of our conversation, the money that she owed me, she was gonna give it to another person to finish it. So in my terms, we were finished.
I didn't hear that she owed you more money. I heard that she gave you more money.
There was $420 left to pay me, and when we talked on 5/23, I couldn't complete those things because I broke my hip, and we agreed that she would give that to someone that she could find to finish the projects.
So none of that is in a text message, even though there's other text messages back and forth of this still needs to be done. When are you coming to the house? Are you coming to the house? Are you looking at the house? So you're telling me that the conversation where in your mind, it cleared everything up, put you guys square, that's not in writing anywhere, but then after that alleged conversation, there's multiple text messages. Are you coming back? Are you going to do this? Are you going to fix this? Did you go buy the garbage can from St. Croix Menards for her and for her island? And you said, yep, I did. And I'll go get that. And that was in June 14th, when that conversation happened, and additional conversations in text message about additional work. But yet, May 23rd or sometime in May, when you broke your hip, you believe a conversation happened where it squared y'all up.
Yes, that when we were talking about the last of the projects that needed to be completed, we discussed the $420 could go to an individual to finish the work.
But then why isn't that in the additional text messages after May 23rd, in which there is discussion about you continuing to come back to finish the work?
Well, it's kind of how we're here, is she's suing me for these things.
I get it, but you're saying a conversation happened, but it just so happened to be on telephone, oral, that there's no document, there's no record of it. You're saying that you had this conversation and it set you both square, equal, square. You go on your way, she goes on her way. That happened May 23rd. But then after May 23rd, there's multiple text messages in which she's talking to you saying, hey, are you going to get this for the house? Are you going to come complete this? Are you going to finish that? After May 23rd, which obviously in written form doesn't look like you squared things away.
It appears so.
So what is accurate and true? The conversation you had, or what's in written form that I can read?
Well, we had the conversation on the 23rd, and I left it at that. I believe she continued to text me those things.
Doesn't make sense.
Ma'am, on May 15th, that was when he was at my house. And he didn't come back to my house until June 2nd. He said on his paper when he was going to sue me that he fell and broke his hip on the 27th of May. So if he broke his hip at my house on the 27th of May, how did he come back to my house on June 2nd?
I don't know. I don't know what's in his answer and counterclaim.
But, you know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He said he fell and broke his hip at my house, and I went through all of that because he said he did, and I know he didn't. But if you look on the 15th, he was at my house and he said he slipped and that his hip hurt on the 17th when I talked to him. That was the last time I talked to him. Then he came on June 2nd. And that's when he said that he needed to borrow the $300 so I could finish the island. You know, that's what
I really don't know. And again, this is, everything needs to be in writing, especially if you're going to spend $10,000. That's a lot of money to throw
that's-
out there.
I know I spent a lot of money that I gave him.
Well, it's hard for me to believe that there were conversations in writing which state come back and finish the work after the May 22nd, May 23rd phone call. And even if there was a phone call, then she said, you know what, I don't agree with that anymore. I want it fixed, and I want it fixed to what I believe is at the condition that it should be for me paying $10,000. There's not a lot here from either side. So a lot of this is fully based upon credibility. And I believe that Ms. Rittner is more credible in this situation than Mr. Rayner is. I don't understand the $300, but now I'm seeing a text. I just opened it up and it says $300. I don't know what that is or means. Yes, there was conversations in July about repaying the $300 plus an additional $800 because you can't go back and paint her house like you said you were going to do. So you need to pay her $1,100 back to her.
Mhm.
And that was before she even had contractors come in
Right.
to give her quotes to finish the work. So based upon the text messages and all that I have here, the court is going to order $6,850 to be paid to Ms. Grittner from Mr. Rayner, dismissing his claims with prejudice. They've already been dismissed. The court finds that $1,000 to redo the countertop, $800 to repaint the house, $300 for whatever money she gave you to finish the island. I don't know why she would make something up or even have the ability to think about making something up about the contractor and the blueprints with the wall for $600. $1,650 to redo the ceilings, the $2,000 to redo the countertops on top of what she paid you to redo them. And then the additional $500 she paid to have the island finished on top of the $300 that she paid you. So there's a total of $6,850 that Mr. Rayner owes to Ms. Grittner for not only being overpaid and not coming and redoing the work, but the additional money she had to pay the contractor to finish the work. So that is the order of the court, and that is the judgment, plus service costs and fees.
Thank you.
So that it's up to you to get the information to collect, but it is, I'm going to state that it's due within 3 months to Ms. Grittner, or you can make payment arrangements with Ms. Grittner on what is agreeable to have the matter repaid at whatever amount you believe you can afford. Otherwise, we have to have a hearing and the court has to go over all of that and then make sure that there's things that you understand if you fail to pay, that you could be found in contempt, you can have sanctions ordered against you. That is the order of the court, and we are adjourned. I think there was an error on page 11 as it relates to Mr. Evans' Polk County case 24 CF 40. I don't believe that's the correct case number.
Yeah, it must be 50.
I believe that was the only error that popped out to me when I reviewed, because I don't have as much intimate and personal information as either the state nor the defense. Mr. Schmidt, did you receive the pre-sentence investigation report?
I did. I reviewed it. I have no corrections.
Mr. Chapman?
I have it. I reviewed it with Mr. Evans. We have no corrections.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Evans, that's true. Mr. Chapman went over that with you,
Yes, ma'am.
and you could not find any material errors that needed to be corrected?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. We are in victims' rights compliance. We do not have any victims who are going to be making any statement today. So we'll proceed to arguments. Mr. Schmidt.
The state is going to be arguing something in the middle of the Department of Corrections recommendation. It's going to be arguing for 6 years initial confinement, followed by 4 years extended supervision, totaling a 10-year sentence on the burglary. For the other counts, the state's going to recommend following DOC's recommendation to run those concurrent, and they gave various ranges for that. This recommendation is primarily driven by need to protect the public, gravity of the offense, and rehabilitative needs of the offender. As to gravity of the offense, it's really high. As the owner said in his victim impact statement, he had gone through a long time where he had not been burglarized, and then he got hit twice within a short period of time. This was the second time. He's at a loss because he still hasn't recovered everything that was lost. The nature of the offense, especially in conjunction with the criminal history, means probation would unduly depreciate the seriousness of the offense, especially with the read-ins. The version of events that Adam Evans gave in the PSI, I believe, is correct. When we did the sentencings for the other co-defendants, Charles Evans and Chantel Bentley, I spent a long time outlining all the physical evidence, all the high-tech digital things we did, and explained how it showed that both of those people, when they gave their version of events in the PSI, gave things that were plainly contradicted by the physical evidence. And I argued that was evidence that those two individuals were denying responsibility for it. The account that Adam Evans gave is the account that law enforcement believes fits the evidence. Both Charles and Chantel denied responsibility for entering the black and orange and claimed they were sitting out in the vehicle. So all three people claim that, despite the fact that footprint evidence showed Charles did go in, and the two people who went in were tall, and Mr. Evans has a much broader frame than both of them, and he obviously was not the person in there. So to that extent, that's something that weighs in Evans' favor. He's owning up to what he did. He's actually telling the truth about what happened, and he is coming to the court and accepting responsibility in a way that the other two co-defendants did not. On the other side of the coin, the main aggravating factor in this case that bleeds into the gravity offense, the need to protect the public, and rehabilitative needs is the fact that he did this with his high school age son. There are numerous red flashing signs across a lot of the evidence, namely like the messages and whatnot, that Charles Evans loves his dad and wants to be like his dad and follows him in many ways, for better or for worse. Whatever Adam does, Charles will follow. We talk a lot in this courtroom about the awesome responsibility that parents have to guide their children. It's not just the things we tell them to do or do with them, but the model we set ourselves for them. Adam's youth in the PSI involves some early thievery, along with consistent substance abuse over a long period of time that crescendoed into that federal prison sentence for a drug conspiracy. That sentence robbed Charles of his father for many years. When Adam got out of prison, he starts doing this thievery type stuff with his son. He puts his son on the same path he took when he was Charles's age. And sure enough, while Charles is out on bond in his part of this case, He gets arrested for selling drugs. The same behavior that landed his father in prison, the same behavior that Adam describes his father, Roger Evans, having problems with. And now we have a chain of behavior stretching 3 generations of men in the Evans family, from Roger's Mexican cartel activities to Adam's federal drug conspiracy to Charles selling THC, the consistent trend of the thievery-related activities from Adam to Charles that he says is connected to the drug use, even though Adam says that his father, Roger, wasn't involved in thievery and said things like, "I don't like thievery," and that was part of his motivation for getting into it. I lay this all out here because this is why family stability, attitudes, and values is in the PSI, why it's a category. These are things that are predictive of the future should no intervention occur. It sure seems like Charles Evans is still influenceable by his father. His father took the skills that it's documented he learned in federal prison, and I suspect it's skills that also built into the employment he was able to procure as well, and applied that to his son, taught his son skills, or took his son on that path. His son would likely follow. The chain of generational crime could stop with Adam and Charles, and thus the community would be protected in the future from crime from either of them. The problem is that it sure looks like instead it was a different skill set that Adam imparted onto his son, or at least taught him for this offense. And that is problematic. Thus, there's a need for specific deterrence of Charles Evans, not just for the offense that he committed of the burglary, but who he did it with and who was obviously learning from him and Chantel Bentley. He always had the chance at a bare minimum to keep his son out of this lifestyle. You go beyond that, another problem we look at with Mr. Evans that I think is aggravating is his history and his adjustment on supervision. Adam Evans has not made significant gains while on probation. The probationary periods, when you look at the PSI, they've always known there's been an AOD issue and it's never been tackled. The gains they document him making in federal prison, however, have been extraordinary. He got a lot of specific training there. He got his HSED well in there. He did extremely well in a confined setting. Thus, there's good evidence that he succeeds best in a confined setting. And we know, since he says that the driving force of the burglary here was the substance abuse, and the read-in involves him being in a vehicle with Leanna DeMar's user who had a large amount of meth. We know that's a present issue. That's something he still grapples with. You never beat addiction. You only ever control it or deal with it. And right now he's not dealing with it and he needs treatment, and a confined setting is where we see he's done best at that. The duration of the prison sentence should be tailored towards the high end because of the criminal history and because of the aggravating fact that he's laying the path for his son to do the same behavior in the future. It harms the community and to a greater extent harms his son. Seeing a stiff sentence might be something that would specifically deter Charles Evans from continuing that path in addiction and in terms of doing the thievery style offenses, in addition to the general deterrence of the public. We talk, when we say general deterrence, there's 2 types of deterrence. There's general deterrence and there's specific deterrence. There's specifically deterring this offender, and then there's general deterrence of the public. We can actually see a real general deterrent effect here because we can pick a person out from the general public and see how a higher sentence here would be conveying a message to that person: don't follow that path. So there's a much higher general deterrent effect in this case than we normally see. The court should also incentivize Adam Evans to participate in programming in prison by making him eligible for CIP and SAP. Like I said, part of the reason why a confined sentence is appropriate for him is because he does well there. So he should be incentivized to do those. Just like the feds did. The feds incentivized him to make himself better, and he did. He did a lot of things to improve himself in federal prison. I think there's a lot of reason to believe that he might do so again in state prison. I just think the court should stagger it so that he can't get the benefits of the program initially. That is, it should set a period by which he's allowed to take advantage of the release portion of it. Not staggering it until he can't start it until a certain time, but the release portion, because we want him to start it as soon as possible. I would suggest something in the 3 to 4 year range of that, because there is a need for actual punishment in this case, because of the gravity of the offense for the reasons I outlined before, and also for the general and specific deterrent effects. So to sum up, the defendant obviously has rehabilitative needs. There's a long documented history of AODA issues with Adam Evans. There's also a long documented history of thievery related things, because when you look at his early history, stealing that stuff. These concerns are best addressed in a confined setting because of the lack of success on supervision previously, and because there just is a need for punishment here as well. Furthermore, the history is aggravating because of the aforementioned pattern of stealing. Thus, there's a greater need for that specific deterrence for this offender. We can't do the same things over and over and expect different results. Additionally, the defendant bringing his son into his criminal enterprises and the trends we've seen from his son has been disconcerting. Adam Evans got a lot of skills in federal prison. He could very easily use those skills to be a good model for his son. Instead, he's imparted the bad skills that he knows to his son. That fact in particular lends towards general deterrence and lends towards a higher sentence. We need to deter both Charles Evans and we need to deter both Adam Evans and the general public, which includes Charles Evans. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chapman? First off, before I ask for your argument and recommendation from you, is there a stipulation to the restitution of $13,840.95?
Mr. Evans would like a restitution hearing on that, Your Honor.
Okay. So
That
it's
was
not,
part of the offer that he stipulated to that, though.
That's stipulating to the amount.
Yeah, stipulate to
I thought
restitution.
that was, that's why I wrote it down.
Do we have the plea questionnaire? Because I actually looked for that on this exact issue and couldn't find it.
I don't have it. We've looked. And it's not in the electronic file. Any ones that I would have kept up and accidentally not provided would be up here. And the only one I have is a Jeffrey Bloom. So why don't we'll just take a little bit of time. 5 minutes enough, or do you want 10?
5 is probably fine. Can I step out into the hallway with Mr. Evans?
No, you may not. We will all vacate except for the officer. Back on the record, same appearances as previously noted. The court allowed Mr. Evans to have a confidential conference with his client. The court also then permitted Mr. Evans to go up to over to his jail cell to look through his paperwork to see if he had that copy of the plea questionnaire waiver of rights form. He indicated he could not find a copy. Is that correct, Mr. Evans?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for looking.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chapman, as it relates to, I guess, that matter, that issue.
Your Honor, I could tell from my notes that in discussions over the plea resolution, I had just written down restitution, and it wasn't clear whether that was stipulates to the 13,000 or whatever is in the restitution request, which I believe I hadn't even received at that time, or whether it was we agree that he's joint and severally responsible for restitution. In any case, the remedy would not be that the court has to agree with us. The remedy would be if there's no meeting of the minds, the plea would be undone, and Mr. Evans does not want that. He is willing to stipulate to the amount requested by the state.
All right, thank you. So he is going to request or stipulate to $13,840.95 joint and severally liable with all co-defendants.
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you. Now let's move on. Mr. Chapman, argument and sentencing recommendation, please.
Your Honor, I don't believe that the state and I are too far off in our requests. I agree that a prison sentence imposed at this time is an appropriate resolution. I think we're just arguing about the amount. I disagree that 6 years is necessary under the circumstances, and instead I'm going to ask the court to impose an initial confinement portion of 4 years, possibly with a lengthier portion of extended supervision. I have concerns about the state's reliance on an aggravated factor of Charles's behavior. If this was a case where Charles was 14 and was the mitigated participant and was the one in the car while his father was committing crimes, that would be one thing. But I think we all agree that Charles was actually a more active participant in this crime than Adam was. So it almost feels to me like that argument is asking the courts to punish Mr. Evans for prior bad influence on Charles that led him to this day. And honestly, given the statements of all the parties to law enforcement and given what we know about Chantel's phone records and the fact that she was the one attempting to sell various items that were stolen, I think Mr. Evans' version to the PSI author that this whole burglary of the Black and Orange was Chantel's idea because she had a specific grievance against that place due to her sister is plausible. And while yes, it says something about Mr. Evans's skills as a father that he did not step in and say, no, son, you shouldn't do this. I think it was Chantel that was the one that was the brains behind the Black and Orange burglary. And Mr. Evans, well, Adam Evans is the bad parenting in this situation was not saying no, not that Adam Evans specifically led Charles Evans to this conduct. I think Charles Evans at this point is an adult and made his own decision. And in fact, as the person in the bar, was the more culpable party. So to then argue that this is an aggravated factor against Adam Evans because he's committing crimes with his son, I don't think he was a bad influence here. I think Charles made his own decision in this case, Judge. So yes, he could have been a better father leading up to it, but I don't think the prior examples of being a bad parent should be treated as an aggravated factor in this particular case. As far as the actual seriousness of the crimes, Judge, while yes, burglary is specifically a serious crime in and of itself, the maximum penalty for burglary for initial confinement is 7.5 years. And simply based on the facts of the case where Adam Evans was the party who was waiting in the car, I think that puts him specifically in a mitigated role in this case, which does not call for an aggravated sentence. I think 4 years is a sufficient penalty for a burglary to a bar where a person has a mitigated role in that burglary as party to a crime. And given Mr. Evans's record, I think that takes it into account. Otherwise, I'd be here asking for probation. Mr. Evans obviously does have a record, but almost all of that was focused on approximately 1 year in 2015, I believe, 2014, 2015. He had a possession of meth charge, he had a bail jumping charge, and he had the federal conspiracy case, which ultimately led to 5 years of prison. But prior to that, he didn't even have a felony record. He had, as the state indicated, some thefts early in his record. He had a disorderly conduct, and then he went to prison. And he got out of prison, and yes, as the state indicated, he did very well in prison. He also did very well on supervision. He had about 4 years there that's described in the PSI where he was sober, he was working, he had his own residence, he had his own vehicle, he had regained full custody of his son, which is very difficult for a man to do, especially with a criminal record. Everything was going fine until things went bad with his significant other. And he left his house, he left his significant other, he left his son, and he went back to using. And now here we are, a burglary charge, the operating a motor vehicle charges. I would just point out Mr. Evans tells me he wasn't even there when they were stolen, but he did assist Miss Bentley in disposing of them. She was attempting to sell them online. She didn't. And then he helped her take the vehicles to the scrapyard and used his ID to scrap them. They didn't even work, but he put them on a trailer, which involved operating, and he knew he didn't have consent. And the meth charge in Buffalo County, which state didn't say too much about it. I'm not going to say too much about it either. If Buffalo County doesn't consider it that serious, that they just wanted it dismissed and read in with our case, I'd ask the court not to put too much of an aggravating factor on that. But yes, he was in possession of, I believe, about 13 grams of methamphetamine, which is a lot. I asked him why it was all in his vehicle at that time. He said he didn't have anywhere else to live at that time. So all of his possessions were in the vehicle at that time. I believe if the court imposes a prison sentence, the 4 years that I'm asking for, he has significant credit at this point.
What is the credit?
I believe 574 days, not including today. He's been confined consistently since December 11th of 2024. He's been an inmate worker almost that entire time here at the Burnett County Jail. That would still leave enough time that he would be allowed to, and he'd be incentivized to participate in the substance abuse program, which I agree is what's best for Mr. Evans at this time. I don't believe that treatment would be provided in the community, and I think he'd be too tempted in this area to go back to using if he were in Arbor Place or Salvation Army or something like that. But I think if he goes to prison, if he does the substance abuse program and he's released to extended supervision, every indication is that a significant period of sobriety before he's released and released to the structured supervision of extended supervision, I believe he will do just as well as he did last time he was released from prison. He has employment available to him. He's got skills. I submitted a letter from his former employer. He would be happy to have him back. He's got support in the community from his family. Ms. Jensen, who also submitted a letter, has been involved talking to me about his defense, his family, what's going to happen to him when he gets out, treatment that she believes that he needs before he's released from custody. So I do think that when he gets out to extended supervision, that will be an additional structure to him beyond just going to prison where he needs treatment in a confined setting. So given the fact that he successfully completed his federal supervision for 4 years last time, I think if the court were to impose, say, 5 years of extended supervision on this one, there's every indication that Mr. Evans will return to his sober lifestyle and the public will be protected. So I would ask the court to impose a sentence of 4 years of initial confinement, 5 years of extended supervision, and then concurrent time on the operating without owner's consent charges.
Thank you. And for the record, I have read the letter from Mr. Trenter as well as Ms. Jensen's. Mr. Evans, I'm now going to turn to you to see if there's anything you would like the court to know, you want me to know about yourself. Yes.
I'm sorry. I just realized I forgot to mention that during the time that Mr. Evans has been in custody, he has also participated in both substance abuse programming as the relapse prevention program here in the jail, and to various programming involving parenting and community relationships, social values, recovery maintenance. He's provided with several certificates that he's obtained in the jail.
All right. Would you like those in the court file?
Yes, please.
All right.
Elizabeth Court.
These are all.
All right. We'll make sure that these are for sure filed. You want them back?
She'll make a copy so she can give you the originals back.
What happens is she'll scan it, put it in the electronic file, and otherwise we throw it away, or I can save them and have them sent back.
I'll take them back.
Okay, so when you're done, okay, so.
Thank you.
Oh, do you mind if they're stamped and say?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, just go ahead and stamp it. So then we'll make sure that you get them back, okay?
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna wait until she's done, then I'll go.
And there was also, like, I did do another drug, one, Stop the Chaos, but, well, Burnett County came and got me before I actually received a certificate there. And I was in another parenting class that I was in for about 3 weeks, and an anger management class too, but it was a 6-week thing, and I got taken out of that jail before I could finish
Where were you housed?
Buffalo County.
Buffalo?
And
Sounds like they have some really good programs.
they do, and they don't offer nothing like that here, you know. But
Well, we're just starting and getting up with a new jail. We're trying to build more programs. You know, that could be something that you want to focus on, you know, and while you're incarcerated, if you're going to be incarcerated, and, you know, think of some things and try and help this jail out.
I mentioned it because it was all through Zoom, and it's all through the University of Madison.
You know what I would like? Maybe you could write down those things and you can give it to your attorney, or you can just send it down through jail mail. And then to me, so I have it, because then I can speak with our sheriff and, you know, our jail captain, and I'll look into the programs.
All right, thank you.
Okay? I would appreciate that. So now, Mr. Evans, is there anything you want to tell me about yourself, about your history, about these charges, these convictions, about the victims, about anything that you feel that you want me to know, to correct anything that you heard that was said by the state or by your attorney? You have the floor.
I actually have a lot to say, but
You have time.
so growing up was pretty wild. You know, I watched my parents get robbed at gunpoint for drugs. People in the house getting pistol whipped when I was about 7 to 8. You know, I was standing there crying in the doorway while I was watching this, and I can recall looking on the wall, and my dad had a 22 that didn't work, and I thought about grabbing it and trying to scare him, which I probably would have been shot, you know. But I had enough awareness at that time as a child to know not to do that. But I also had a phone in that bedroom, and I also was aware that there was illegal stuff going on. So I didn't call the cops because I didn't want my parents to get in trouble, you know. There's a lot of trauma from back then, a lot of crazy stuff that you might not even believe, but yes.
I've heard a lot and I believe a lot.
So we moved to Wisconsin. One day we packed up everything that we could in a U-Haul, came to Wisconsin. My dad told me that the cartel was going to kill our whole family, you know. I grew up really fast right then. We had guns in every room, for bullets for every gun. He taught me how to use them safely, but he told me that these people are coming to kill your family, and I need you to be a man, and if that happens, help, you know. And not just that, I mean, there was lots of abuse with my mother.
I read about all of the people that she dated and those types of things too.
I don't know, like it almost sounds like my dad was a monster, but really he wasn't. Like there was a lot of bad influences, but really he was a wonderful father in a sense, and he was my world, you know.
Well, perhaps I messed that up. It was with your father. I thought that your mother had dated people that were abusive.
No.
Okay, then sorry, I confused
It's
that
okay.
part with the abuse allegations. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my dad abused my mother quite frequently in the beginning until, I don't know, until like the last 8 years he was alive. He never touched her again after he went to a domestic abuse class. But I witnessed all that. I witnessed the police officers slamming him to the ground in a mud puddle because they wanted him to lay down after a domestic abuse, kneeing him in the back of the head, in the back. And I actually started trying to push the officers off of him because they were hurt. He was hurting my dad. You know what I mean? growing up, there was a lot of illegal things that was just everyday life. You know what I mean? I was introduced to a lot of drugs when I was young, a lot of illegal activities, big and small, you know. But really where I went down a horrible path is when my father died. So he was at the University of Minnesota for a month with heart issues. He had heart issues for most of his life. And when he came home, he told me he was going to be all right, but he was telling my sister and my mother all night that he came home to die, but he never told me. He did ask me if I wanted to sleep with him that night because that's how our relationship was. Like we would cuddle, like he would. It was just really hands-on love, you know what I mean? Besides all the craziness, but
Did he ever hurt you or your siblings?
I mean, I got whooped a couple times, but he never really abused me. His word was boss, you know what I mean? And a lot of things that I probably should have been in trouble for, I did with him. So there wasn't really a whole, and I knew not to do other things, you know, I don't know. But yeah, he wanted me to cuddle with him that night. And I just told him I was going to sleep with my son's mother and my son. And I wish I could take that back because the next day he had a massive heart attack in our living room. And I tried to bring him back and I couldn't. And that really set my world upside down. And I acted out. And I did a lot of bad things that I'm not proud of. But we'll skip to the federal sentence. Through all of that, prison wasn't easy. I was sent all the way to Beaumont, Texas. Never seen my family the whole time I was there. I was in there. People were getting smashed off the yard. 4 or 5 people would jump on people that had bad paperwork or told or child molesters or owed money or all kinds of crazy stuff. Stabbings, you know. About 45 days before I was supposed to go to the halfway house, there was an issue with one of the white dudes who was really high on K2 and was out of his mind. And there was 3. No, it's like
Synthetic THC.
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago.
Thank you, okay.
And there was 3 Mexicans that were gonna jump him, so I grabbed him and brought him upstairs to get him out of that situation. And then the next thing you know, there was 30 to 40 Mexicans that came all the way around the tier and up the stairs and surrounded us. You know what I mean? We got locked down. It was gonna be a race riot because that's just how it is, you know, in federal prison. Like the white people have to stick with the white people. Like I couldn't even sell with a black person or they would smash me off the yard. Like it was pretty hectic in there. Also, I was there for the hurricane. They left us in a cell with no AC going because of the power being out, and it was just the backup generators with my roomie at 100 degrees, and we had to defecate in the toilet for a week without it being flushed. I sat in there smelling another man's feces and mine for a week before they let us flush it. One day, and then we had to sit on ours for another 3 days. So then after that, when it was flushed, I got the idea that we would just go to the bathroom in a trash can with a garbage bag so we could seal up the garbage bag and we wouldn't have to smell it. I think that's pretty crazy that they would just leave us in a cell going through all that. So and then on the whole race riot thing, we got locked down, and when I got into my cell, all you could hear is people sharpening knives, sharpening things to use as pokers for when we came out. Luckily, we were locked down for 30 days, so it kind of de-escalated everything, you know what I mean? But that was pretty traumatizing. too, you know. But when I got out of prison, I did really well. I had goals. You know, I wanted to get full-time employment. I wanted to get my own place. I wanted to get a car. I wanted to get my child back. So I saved up enough money in the halfway house, paid first last month and damage deposit on a 2-bedroom house because my goal was to get my son. And I did that. I worked at that job for 4 years and it really helped. And the farming center really helped me because it helped me get on my feet and establish something and have money to do that, you know. Then I bought my own house. That was another goal. So during all that, I would grow a garden. Like he says that like my parenting was horrible. You know what I mean? I do agree there was some bad choices for sure, and that I don't want my son going through that, but I can't take it back now. But we would hunt, fish, process our own meat, make breakfast sausage, Italian sausage. We shot 13 deer with the bow. You know what I mean? We fished, we made smoked fish, we made jerky. Like I said, we had a 20 by 25 garden, and that was just for the main stuff. We had another one for peppers. We had the vine plants in another section. You know what I mean? We pickled. I taught them a lot of good things. We also found the time to go trail riding on our horses. We had 6 to 10 horses at any given time. We'd go trail riding for weekends. We would go fishing. We'd go camping. Up until, when I abandoned all that because I didn't know what to do, fight or flight, you know, I wasn't really ever taught. Like when I went to prison, I didn't want to do drugs. I hated them because it ruined my life. But I didn't really realize that my real issue is everything that goes on. I try to mask everything and I try not to deal with it. And you can't run away from everything because you have to deal with things. Because this is what happens, you know. I needed tools for that, and I never got tools for that. The only time I was really in treatment was at the farming center, but I wasn't really there for treatment. I was there for reintegrating into the community. You know, I did have goal plans. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that everything I did, I wasn't just being a horrible father to him. I did teach him a lot of good skills and a lot of good things and do a lot of fun things that my father also taught me along with the bad. I do agree that I may not have been a great influence. And the first time I got to go to group with my son in here, I cried like a little baby in front of 8 different men because I'm sitting in a room with my child that used to be my baby. You know what I mean?
Sitting in jail with your child.
Yeah, in a room in jail, and we're both in orange. That's not cool. I understand that. Trust me. I don't want this for him. And at that point, I couldn't even tell him, you know, like how proud I was of him of graduating. And because not only was I in jail, but I had no contact for 25 months with my only son and couldn't talk to him. So even when he was doing good, I couldn't encourage him. I couldn't be there for his graduation, which was a big deal. He worked his whole life for that. You know what I mean? And not only was I not there for that, but at prison and before prison because I was selling drugs. I didn't want him around that. So I missed out on time then. You know what I mean? But I tried to.
Please don't bring your son deeper. Please don't.
I don't plan on it. Like I got to encourage him after you made it to where I could talk. I sent you that letter and you amended stuff, and I got to encourage him that this is where it needs to end. I don't want his son or his daughter here. I don't want him here. I want him to do good. He's better than this. Like I know that there was a lot of good things said about him at court too, and I feel like regardless of what I've done, I've instilled some of them good things in him too. You know what I mean? Not everything I've showed him is bad, you know what I mean? But I do agree that this is horrible. I don't I don't want to be defined as this though, and I am gonna do better and I am gonna kick this habit.
Tell me about the burglaries. And I'm gonna tell you, when the warrant was done, there was suspicion that you were engaged in other burglaries. You're not gonna be charged with those. That's not the thing. But tell me about what you did here and why. You were doing good.
Because I left my house, the ex, there was abuse going on there with her to me, and I didn't want my son around that.
Why did you get with Chantel, who happens to be your son's aunt?
Because I was doing drugs at that point and I was on a downward spiral.
Did you do the drugs in front of your son?
No, that's one thing that I have smoked marijuana with him, but,
Not good.
oh, I know, and I've drank with them, but I never did no hard drugs with them or in front of them. That's one thing I would not do.
So tell me about why you were convicted. Tell me about this crime.
It just came up mutually and I allowed it to happen. You know what I mean? I don't really know what to say. I wasn't in my right state of mind, and if I wouldn't have been using, I would have never allowed it to happen. And I even knew that it was wrong, but at the time I just let it happen. You know, I wasn't thinking clearly
How did Charles get involved?
because he was around, you know what I mean? He was my best friend, kinda, you know?
Best friend in crime?
Well, I mean, crime happened, yes, obviously, but he was my friend.
Where's your remorse? I hear your remorse with teaching your son bad things and engaging him in criminal activity. Where's your remorse for what your actions, your conduct as a party to a crime, still involved as a party to a crime? Do you have remorse for the victims?
Of course.
Tell me about it.
I have a lot of remorse. You know, I've been locked up for long time, and I think about it every night, every day, all of this. You know what I mean? Last night I probably slept 2 hours, and I probably had 7 hours in the last 3 nights. But I think about what I've done to these people and to my son all the time.
What did you do to these people?
I took things from them. I made them feel like they're not safe. Their property's not safe. You know, I've probably damaged it.
You have
They're-
anything to say to them?
Yeah,
What?
that I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. If I could change it, I
You
would.
meant for it to happen. But,
You know what I mean?
yes. But if you could go back and change things, you would do it differently.
Yeah.
Do you have any remorse for your sister, Ms.
Yep.
Jensen, who put up $15,000 for you and you fled?
Yep.
You could have taken it all.
I know.
She could have lost her house.
I know. That's another list of things to add to my issues.
And yet she's still, I'm thinking this is, no, you're not? Okay. Well, she still sent a letter and said all kinds of good things.
She's sick this morning, ma'am.
Who
Otherwise,
else is here?
my cousin Tony and his significant other and my boss or my friend, longtime friend and
One with the letter?
ex-boss. Yeah.
Excellent. Love tree guys. They're great. Costs a lot of money to remove a tree, but hey, heck.
Depends, yeah.
Yeah, it depends. Where are you located? Webster? Great to know. All right. Anything else you want to let me know?
I'd just like to take the time to apologize to them and my family, the community, and the victims and the courts. Thank you for this time.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. I apologize if my voice is going up and down and whatever. I don't know what's happening with it the last couple of days. So if you don't hear something or you don't understand something I say, please let me know. I want to make sure that you understand everything. If you need to ask your attorney something, then you may do so. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I have read the letter from Ms. Jensen, and I have read the letter from Mr. Trenter. And I have heard from both the state as well as your attorney. I also read the victim impact statements that were written, I believe, and what had happened and how it affected them. I don't even know where to start. Because quite honestly, there's some positive things here and there's some negative things here. And how do I weigh that and what do I do? I'm going to tell you in black and white and reading this and the PSI, which has a whole lot of information, and then hearing the argument from the state, it's very compelling to send you to the maximum possible penalty for each of the crimes, which could be consecutive for 10.5 years in prison. And I'd like to say, here's the thing. On one hand, you are a super great dad who does the hunting, who does the gardening, who does the canning, who shows your son how to do positive things and probably work with your hands and fix things because he's very good at that. And then on the other, so be that dad. That's the dad I want you to be. But on the other hand, I have the dad that is sneaky and sly and manipulating and who is teaching his son to do criminal activity, which is really bad. I've had the pleasure of knowing Miss Charles. I'm going to use his first name, knowing Charles, and of knowing Chantel Bentley in depth with all of them. The state does confirm that your story and what happened during the burglaries is most likely what occurred. To me, and in knowing all of the parties in the depth that I know, because I've now learned a whole lot about you, Mr. Evans, in the depth that I know, Chantel was the manipulating instigator, controlling this event and starting it. And then because you were as a result of you being under the influence of a substance and under the influence of Chantel, and I'm sure there are multiple ways that she manipulated you, you followed. The worst part of it is that you didn't say, Charles, stay away. He was 17 years old or 16 years old.
17.
Did he just turn 17?
He was 17, yeah.
17 years old, still in high school, in his senior year, and he had to be in jail during that time, or a lot of that time. And then he was thankfully for him, I guess, released on a monitor that monitored everything that he did. Or I believe it was over a year or almost a year. But he graduated. And so that is something that you should be very proud of. And he has goals and he wants to achieve them. Those are the things that you need to help encourage, not criminal activity. Because a father's supposed to protect your children. You're supposed to be the one to guide them, to keep them safe from harm. And at that particular time, you were not a great dad.
Yes, ma'am.
It makes a whole lot of sense hearing about your father and his involvement in the Mexican cartel and your history from your words. I got Most of it, I got most of it from this pre-sentence investigation report. Not all of it, but I got most. And the fact of all of the traumatic things that you had to endure during your childhood, then I can easily see that your dad, again, he had good traits, but he was not a good dad to teach you how to sell drugs and to teach you the crime and to be that person that doesn't respect the law. I agree that you do need treatment and it needs to be in a confined setting. I believe that after release, you need more treatment, probably in another confined setting, such as Farm and Center or Hazelton or something like that. Because I believe both will help you, because we are talking, how old are you?
37.
You're 37 years old. 37 years old. And you have been, if I recall correctly, it was very young. I think younger than 15 when you started using drugs.
12.
12, yeah, you were very young. So it is ingrained in you. You have to learn how to rip that out and take control of your life and your sobriety. I have 3 recommendations here. One from the Department of Corrections recommending a sentence of either of 5 years in to the max of 7.5 years in, and then 1.5 years in for the other 2, but to have them run concurrent. And then I hear the argument from Mr. Chapman. He makes a pretty good point. Maximum possible penalties with crimes should be the most offensive, the most perhaps violent or aggressive, because there's a spectrum. And you look at this, the low end of, 1 year jail or prison to the maximum of 7.5 years. And you look at that individual and you look at their life and what's affected it. You look at their criminal history and where you are with that. You look at you have to think now of a sentence that will, as Mr. Schmidt said, deter you specifically from continuing in criminal activity and conduct, and to generally deter others from engaging in criminal conduct. It has to be harsh enough to do those 2 things. And Charles is part of that general public. I'm hoping upon hope that he has learned and that he understands jail's not fun. I believe on the other case of him selling THC, intent to deliver, he had 1 year of jail to sit. And that's a lot for a now 18-year-old to have to sit that much time. My condolences for the loss of your sister.
Thank you.
It sounds like it was a very tragic thing. She was young. She had a whole life ahead of her too. And I know that's going to impact you, and it has impacted you. And you need to talk about this. Hopefully you'll be able to while you're incarcerated. I know your family supports you, even with the things that you have done. I get these glowing statements, but for the fact if he's under the influence. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up your sister, and I want to make sure that that you're hearing me, and I'm sorry, I should have waited until the end. But I feel for your loss.
It's just another thing. That's hard to deal with in here,
I understand. I do. And the reason I did not let you out to go to her funeral, A, is because these are serious felonies, and B, because you've you can't think, absconded. You've absconded on me before. And it was a long time before you were arrested in Buffalo and then came back. I couldn't trust that you would come back. So
I
hopefully
understand.
you can make peace. So these are serious offenses, and especially as we're dealing with burglaries, you never know what could happen. You never know what could go wrong. People could get hurt. The business owners, we've had robberies at night where lights are off and the business owners are just doing their last bits of things or doing whatever, and people break in. That could have caused some serious injuries or death to one who broke in or to the owner. It's a huge risk to everybody. And it's a loss to the victims of all of the property and their safety and their security. And now there's fear and worry and apprehension. And you mix being under the influence of a substance and the increase of the risk, or the risk and the penalty could increase. It could cause more things that you weren't expecting. I've looked at your history. I've looked at your criminal history and where it got more serious and when you finally had your first felony conviction. And in looking at your prison time, I've heard stories of prison. I've heard stories of federal prison, and it depends on the crime that's committed. Is it a blue, or is it some kind of, I would say,
Blue collar
rich person crime versus another person, that there are different levels of federal prisons. Sounds like you were in one of the worst. And I do feel for you, and I believe you with the things that happen. That wasn't enough to deter you from committing more crimes. And I understand that you started using substances again, but that's no excuse. Your brain should have went back to what happened in prison. What happened in prison? I don't want to do that anymore. Because, as you said, you could get seriously injured or even die in prison. Very interesting to me when I hear things that have occurred in different prisons. So thank you for sharing. After you were released from prison, you were doing so well. You were on the top of the world at that time. And it was for a significant amount of time. And then you let somebody else's behavior dictate and control and lead you down the other path. And I know it was because you were trying to self-medicate. You were trying to feel better, or you were trying to forget all of the things that were happening at that time. But look where it led you. Are you strong enough, Mr. Evans, to take control and really take control of your life?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to see you as a grandpa sitting on a chair reading to your grandchild. I don't want to see you continuing to be an orange or to have Charles visit his son or daughter through bars or, plexiglass or glass.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, and this is serious, if you do not make the changes you need to make, if you do not gain control of your life, Charles will follow you. He will. And it doesn't matter if he's graduated from some type of school. It doesn't matter if he's had years to learn how to be a plumber. It doesn't matter if he's an apprentice to learn how to cut trees and to do those things. He will follow you. if you continue and you go back down the criminal road. I don't want to see that. He's a nice young man, but for the fact that he followed you and Chantel. There are things to be proud of in how you raised him. I want to make sure that you understand I see that.
Thank you.
So looking at the public here, we have to look at the public and we have to look at that deterrence factor. And we have to need to rehabilitate, see that you get some treatment that you need. I just want to make sure that I cover everything, specifically what DOC said. Oh, and the fact that you overdosed, I missed that. You could have died there. I think I covered everything. I think I've said everything that I need to say because this is serious. Everybody acknowledges this. I understand the background, and here we need to look at protecting the public. What the court is going to do as it relates to the I felonies, I'm going to sentence you to 1.5 years of initial confinement, 2 years of extended supervision. They will be concurrent to each other. With regards to the burglary, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sentence you to 5 years of initial confinement with 5 years of extended supervision. And I'm going to allow you to engage in the challenge incarceration program or other earned release programs such as the substance abuse program. However, I'm going to state that you can't engage in the program until you have 2.5 years left to serve. That gives you plenty of time to do the substance abuse programming and to get through that. And it gives the punishment factor and the fact that the court is trying to deter others. You have 574 days of credit as of today, but not counting today.
Correct.
Thank you. I am proud of you, Mr. Evans, for the things that you've been doing in jail and to improve yourself and to improve you as a parent. I see that. Otherwise, I could say no engaging in these programs. I know that you need substance abuse programming. I do. But I'm going to give my spiel about the challenge incarceration program. That's one that I fully back. It is such a great program. And I'm going to tell you, I went and I saw the men and the women who were engaging in that program and how successful they are. It's work, it's hard work. It's harder than the substance abuse programming, but it does different things for your mind and for your soul and for your body. And I was so impressed by the inmates that I saw in that program. With regards to conditions when on extended supervision, the court is going to order that there is absolutely no contact with Chantel Bentley. I'm going to order absolute sobriety, no use or possession of any illegal drugs, substances, or paraphernalia. Regular testing, continued substance abuse programming. Are you going to stay around here?
I don't know. That's to be decided, I guess.
You decided. What I'm going to order is participation, well, apply for and participate in the treatment, Burnett County Treatment Court, if your agent, with agent approval, or if the agent decides, okay? I'd love to see you go through that program. It's
Drug-
tough. It's tough.
Drug court?
Yeah.
I
Yeah, we changed it
actually,
to treatment court, but yes.
okay, I was actually, I put an application for that, but I never heard nothing back, so, but
Yeah, we wait until somebody is sentenced to know whether or not
okay.
we can admit them. But I'm not going to order that that's a necessary thing. But if you want to do it when you're when you're released and on extended supervision, yourself, just tell your agent. I think it would do you good. Gainful employment. I'm going to also order either criminal thinking, either breaking the barriers or thinking for a change, because that could help you as well. Before I go on to the other stuff that I have to state on the record, am I missing any kind of condition that you see, Mr. Schmidt? Oh, no contact with victims or businesses or residents.
I don't think you said restitution.
Oh, thank you. But what? Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. And all of them will be concurrent to each other. The restitution I'm ordering for $13,840.95, joint and severally liable. I'm going to state that the restitution, surcharges, court costs, and fines are to be collected at the percentage that's determined by the Department of Corrections to be reasonable while you are in prison. So I'm not going to order a specific amount right now because they will take, by statute, the DOC gets to decide what percentage they think is appropriate. When you are released from custody, I'm going to order that your payments then be $250 a month. If when you're released and you need time to find a job or you can't go back to Mr. Trenter's employment, then write me a letter so that I know. I will state that your payments will not begin, I'll give you some time, I'll say until 2 months after release. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
But if you have a significant or substantial financial hardship at any time when you're on extended supervision and you can't afford that amount, you need to write the court so I can have a hearing, so I can go over your debts, what you pay, your bills, and your income. I'm going to tell you that sometimes when people do that, I increase the amount because I'm able to see that there's more money there. Okay? You have 20 days to appeal. Should you fail to appeal within 20 days, you do lose that right. I need your DNA. You're going to provide that DNA. You have the ability to request it be expunged, but with this level of a felony, it's not really possible, but you can try. This is a felony, no use or possession of a firearm for life, no voting in any election until your civil rights are restored. Anything else I'm missing, Mr. Chapman?
Not that I can see.
574 days of jail credit. I think that covers everything. Oh, sorry, and costs and fees, thank you. With regards to, it's going to take you a long time to be able to pay that off because it goes to restitution first. I'm just going to do $250, the DNA surcharge for all. That's mandatory and I have to do that. I'm waiving the rest of the court costs and fees. I need you, I want you, so do the victims, to pay that restitution. And I know it's joint and severally liable, and I know that, you know, it should be split 3 ways, but the victims need to be made whole. And there's other recourse that you can do to go after, not that you're going to go after your son probably, but to go after another part of that if you pay it all off. All right, I think that covers everything.
This courtroom hearing centers on Jalen Hendricks, a young man already on probation in 2 separate felony cases involving evading arrest or detention with the use of a vehicle. But now, both of those cases are back before the court because motions have been filed to revoke his probation. And instead of a sentencing hearing, the immediate question is whether the judge should set bonds that could allow Hendricks to be released from custody while the revocation cases continue. As Hendricks takes the stand, his attorney begins building a picture of his personal background. Hendricks explains that he grew up moving from group home to group home while in CPS care. He says that his only local family is his grandmother, although he also has a fiancée. When asked whether he owns any valuable property that could help him secure a bond, the answer is no. The court then examines his financial situation and learns that he shares a bank account with his grandmother with approximately $1,000 in it, and that their income comes from Social Security benefits. The judge then gets directly to the most important question. If a bond is set, how much money could Hendricks and his family realistically come up with? Hendricks estimates that he, his grandmother, and his fiancée might eventually be able to gather between $2,000 and $3,000. His attorney suggests that this could support a bond in the neighborhood of $20,000. But there is one major problem. Hendricks admits they do not have that money available immediately. Even if the judge agrees to set a bond, he would likely have to wait for his family to gather the funds needed to secure